I like it like that. Oh my goodness, I like that song. How many of y'all like that song? I like it like that. I like it like that. Good morning, Miss Felice. Belinda Felice. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Miss Jones out of South Carolina, part of crew. I like it like that. Hey, Mr. 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 Dale Ransom. Morning. I like it like that. Miss Caroline Baker. Good morning. 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 I like it like that. Miss Castro Phoenix. I like it like that. Mr. Marvin Carter, Regional Director in Fresno. I like it like that. Marie, good morning. Miss Candy Eppley in Phoenix. Miss Joyce Brewer, good morning, dear in Fresno. I like it like that. Miss Kathleen Williams, boy, I like that song. Mr. Payon over in Japan, I like it like that. All right, sensational. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Mr. Sergio down in Mexico, I like it like that. Look at Mr. Freddie Sherman in the refrigerator. I like it like that. Hey, Mr. Winston Herbert, good morning, good morning, good morning. Mr. David Carver, the professor. I like it like that. Mr. David Wright, good morning. Mr. James Reed, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Harold Gaston up in Nashville, good morning. I like it like that. Miss Christina, good morning. Wow, Mr. Dwayne, good morning. I like it like that. Mr. Jones, good morning. Mr. Michael Jenkins, good seeing you, handsome young man. I like it like that. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. What about Pat and Frank up in Bowman up in Elk Grove, California? I like it like that. Let's go a little south down to Oakland, California, where we find Miss Pat Robinson. I like it like that. Miss Hayes, good morning. Miss Angelina, good morning. Miss Gail Wiggins, good morning. Miss Tracy Gilmore, part of the Baker Organization. I like it like that. Regional Director, Mr. Julian Lewis in San Diego, California. Hey, like it like that. Oh, Mr. Casey Carter. There he is in San Diego. Sir, good morning. I like it like that. Wow, Regional Director, Miss Luana from Fresno, California. I like it like that. Miss Martinez out in Iowa. Good morning, young lady. I like it like that. Queen V out of New York City. I like it like that. Hey, folks, we got a great call lined up for you today. I like it like, man, that song came out in 1966, but it's so relevant today. Man, we need to be live, don't we? We need to have something getting us going. We need something to give us some inspiration. We need something to keep us on the right track. And I think all you people on the call, those that got on here late, hey, get on it early because we're going to start locking the call out. So out of respect for the speaker, so please don't be late to this call. Get on there 5-10 minutes early. We're open for you to help you build. Also, Miss Natasha Ismail, Regional Director in Fresno. I like it like that. Hey, listen, we got a great call lined up for you today. My dear friend out of Houston, Texas, Mr. Dwight Williams, our special guest speaker. And you know what? He likes it like that. He's 56 years old. He's a business owner. He worked in corporate America many years. He has a lot of good insight in life in general. He's been married 34 years to this beautiful lady. He's been courting and everything else. A great husband. And you know what? He always talks about it's a great time to be an AC and is right now. And he always talks about you need to reinvent yourself. And he said faith is the key. So without further ado, my dear friend, my business owner, my entrepreneur friend out of Houston, Texas, he's a real life coach. I don't care about people. Some of these people ain't real life coach. They've been around for 5 years. They're 21 years old. I'm a life coach. No, this is a life coach. Without further ado, my dear friend in Houston, Texas, the great, the one and only couple, Mr. Dwight Williams. Good morning, sir. I like it like that.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey.
Hey.
I like it like that.
I'm gonna let you dance for a little bit longer, huh? Well, this is a lot of fun. Having a lot of fun today, guys. Once again, I start off, I just want to just say how thankful I am to Mr. Thomas and all of you for being invited to speak to you guys. It is, and I say this all the time, it's an honor and it's a privilege, and I mean it sincerely, because you guys have, you've got a leader already that's leading you right now. Mr. Thomas is world renowned already, and so to be offered to come speak on this call is you got to think about it. It's an honor and a privilege to do it. And so, sir, I want to say I appreciate it, and to all of you, I want to say it is appreciated. Thank you. I as I say all the time, isn't it the best time ever to be alive right now? I know we have our challenges, and I know there is a lot of challenge in the world right now. I do know that, but always coupled with challenge is opportunity. Am I right? Even the Chinese dialect, as I've said several times, other than this, the word crisis actually means opportunity. The translation for that word in the Chinese language is opportunity. So this is an incredibly opportune time, because that's when you discover opportunity, when we're challenged, because we're forced to, aren't we? Aren't we forced to discover new ways when our old ways are being challenged? I've been I mentor a lot of different people, and young people, people changing their careers. Recently, I've been talking to a lot of pastors, and they have been wanting to talk about how they reinvent, and the strategies, and so a lot of churches are rebaking how they've done ministry in the past. And so some of them are really innovative, and they're saying, you know, we need to possibly rethink how we do this stuff. And lots of things how we use technology, how we communicate with millennials who've been on these platforms all their lives, and how do we attract them, because in a lot of cases they're leaving in droves. And so how do we adapt? So how do we not try to get back to where we are? How do we not struggle with change? But really and truthfully, how do we embrace the changes that we are faced with? And so for me, I'm attracted to disruption. I just am. I just love disruption, because hidden in disrupt, even though it's uncomfortable, change is really uncomfortable. I'm gonna be honest with you. But the nice thing about change and disruption is it creates new opportunity. It creates new life. So we break up the ground to plant seeds that blossom and create new life, and that reproduce more seeds. So the same thing happens in our lives. And I've said this before, the truly wealthy, they self-disrupt. The thing you should be most uncomfortable with is comfort. You should be most uncomfortable with you. And I don't ever say you should be fearful, but if you're gonna fear anything, fear and comfort. Be scared to death of those things. And the reason being is because fear and comfort are paralyzing. They will paralyze you from moving forward. And so you have to be real careful. And so I was, for the church that I attend, I was asked to do the Bible study this previous week. And my senior pastor has been discussing hearing from God. And one of the things that I decided to talk about was noise. There's a lot of noise right now. And all of this noise will cloud your ability to hear, because when you have a lot of noise, you really can't hear. And so you have to remove you have to get away from all that noise. If you're in the midst of a bunch of noise, you can't stay there, because there's no way, unless you put on earphones, but now you won't be able to hear anything. So you need to hear the stuff that you need to move forward, but you've got to filter out the stuff that's just chatter. And it's a lot of it. And when you have too many voices coming at you from all different angles, it's hard to make a decision. And once again, what happens is we don't make any decision. There's a statement we say, confused people do nothing. And that's a true statement. And so when we have a lot of voices going on in our head, it paralyzes us. So all of these things, you're challenged today. There are a ton of challenges that we're faced with. And so I wanted to take a couple of different angles today. I won't be like the preacher says, I won't be before you long. Just give me 7 more minutes, 7 more. I'm just being facetious. But I say this for this reason. I think some of the biggest challenges are the ones that we don't recognize the most. They're the subtle things. They are all the voices, all the noise, the attraction to comfort, and the resistance to change. These things. And so I mentioned the pastors. Many of them are just trying to get back to their churches. And the first question I'll ask is why? I always ask, why do you want to go back to that? And I'm not saying that you don't. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm saying is, open up your mind to thinking, have I been presented with a new way? Are there new opportunities that have presented themselves? And am I so tied to what I already know that it blinds me from seeing the new opportunities that are possibly right in front of me? And so these are the things that we should always be asking ourselves. And I think the thing that sits at the core of all of this is a 4-letter word. Mr. Thomas uses it all the time: false evidence appearing real. Fear. Fear sits at it. And so you'll say, well, what does fear have to do with comfort? Because we fear change. Comfort is a product of me resisting change. Well, what does fear have to do with noise? The reason I'm listening to so many different voices is because I don't trust my own decisions and choices often. And so I take the time to listen to what everybody else is telling me and saying. But I think instinctively, success is an instinct that is from what is built inside of us. My favorite book, the Bible says, to him who is able to do what exceeds abundance above our imagination. But then it goes on to say, according to a power that is already in us. And so everything we need to achieve the things that we need to achieve are already in us. They just have to be brought out of us and cultivated. And so, how is that done? Gentlemen like Mr. Thomas, they challenge us and they push us. And so, I'm gonna be candid with you. I imagine Mr. Thomas can be a lot more aggressive. He's already aggressive, but I imagine he can be way more aggressive than he already is. And really and truthfully, as a group and a team, you should invite that actually. Why? Because he has leaders like Mr. Thomas have a gift and ability to bring the best out of people. But bringing the best out of you is not easy. I don't know if I've ever told this story, but I'm gonna tell the story today. I was a 19-year-old kid, and I like telling stories. So, and I got a lot of them, let me tell you. And the reason I have a lot of stories is because I've done a lot of things, made a lot of mistakes, but I was fearless. I'm people who know me will tell you, this guy will take a risk in a second, and don't be reckless, but reckless to some degree. Why? Because I understand the more disruptive I can be, the greater chance I can experience an enormous change, enormous opportunity. So as 19-year-old kid, I end up in one of the most blessed positions. I've told you the story about MCI, working for a vice president of MCI. The interesting thing about the situation is my boss then had a conversation that I didn't learn about for years with my mother. And he had told my mother, he says, your son is going to come home every day and he's going to want to quit. I'm telling you that because I'm going to make sure he does that, because I'm going to disrupt his world. I'm never going to compliment him. I'm never going to be nice to him. I'm going to be aggressive to him. I'm going to make him uncomfortable every single day. Every time he has a success, I'm only going to tell him about his failures. Every time he gets something right, I'm only going to tell him about what he got wrong. I'm going to do that. Why? Because pampering him and making him feel good will not get the results that he needs to have, because he's grown up in a world where that will make him unfamiliar with this world that he's not familiar with the world that he's about to be introduced to. And as a result of that, he's going to have a tendency to go back to what is comfortable to him. You can't let him do that. And so he told my mother, never let him quit. You can't let him quit. He's going to come home every day wanting to quit. You cannot let him quit. You have to force him to come back. And between the two of us, we'll get the poison out of him that will limit his career. And that absolutely happened. It was terrible. This guy was a maniac. You hear me? My first day on the job, he gave me a task that was unachievable. He wanted 7 booklets. These were huge binders, about that thick. He wanted 6 or 7 of them sitting on his desk by 6 o'clock the next morning. This was my first day at work. I didn't even know where to go to get any of the stuff he was asking me to get. I had no clue what I was doing. And so the young man that I was reporting to was an Asian guy, and he had his own job. And I worked, guys, let me tell you something. I worked till 3 or 4 o'clock that morning doing something I had no idea what to do. But believe you me, come 6 o'clock the next morning, I was back at the office. The books were sitting on his desk, and I was waiting on him. By the time he got there, I was already there. Now, it created the work ethic that I had throughout my career. This guy was ruthless. Intimidation was his style of management. And I'm not going to tell you any more of his story, because it's not the best way to manage. And the end result, the long-term results are not great. But he brought out of me things that I didn't know were there, and it created a career like a rocket. And so, gentlemen like Mr. Thomas, this guy was similar to Mr. Thomas. Gentlemen like himself, they have the ability to bring the best out of you. Those of you who want to achieve at a really, really, really high level, you need to let Mr. Thomas know that he can push you. Many of the times when I'm dealing with individuals that work for me on my team, the first thing I'll ask them is, I need to know exactly what you want to achieve, because the greater the achievement, the more disruptive our relationship is going to be. I'm not going to be very nice to you, not going to be very accommodating to you, because that doesn't help you achieve your goal. Now, if you want me to be nice, I can do that. If you want me to be more palatable and more, I can do that. But the truth be told, that'll just slow down the pace. And so I normally ask people, tell me what you want to achieve and how fast you want to achieve it. Which brings us to our next conversation. 2 things. One of the things, I know we're in this business, ACN, and we talk about, I really like to tie the things we talk to back to the business. Even though they're horizontals, I think they still should connect. So let's talk about those things real quick. I always talk about faith is one of my favorite conversations, and I always dig into it, but it is tied to the business. And so faith and team building is I think one of the most challenging things. When I entered this industry, truthfully, Mr. Thomas was one of my mentors. And listening to him train every time he came to Houston, I would be in his trainings. I would do everything I could to get people in those trainings. Now, why? Because you always want to see the best, and you want to be connected to people who are recognized by the industry. And so all you got to do is look at a few of the industry magazines and see his pictures over the last several years, and you begin to realize this guy's a leader in this industry. And that's what you always want to be connected to, is the guys at the front of the industry, because they can pull you along with them and you'll progress as well. So what do these things have to do with each other? I've told you guys many times, I grew up in the church, inner city church, and matter of fact, born there. And so I believe the Bible uncompromisingly, unconditionally. And so you may, I have a daughter that's a doctor, and she challenges everything I say, and she and I go back, and I love it. But she's a millennial, and so, but it keeps me sharp, actually, in communicating with her. Team building and faith have a few things. I've been thinking about this since the last time we talked, and I believe at the core of everything we do is our faith. Even in building this business is in our faith. Most people, I've talked to individuals about, forget talking to individuals. Let's talk about me. When I first started in this industry, I didn't know ACN is my first company, and it'll be my last company, Lord willing. And the reason I say that is because I can't, if you were to talk to me about questions that you may have about this business compared to other businesses in the industry, or as well as businesses in other areas of I can tell you, I've been a business owner, a mid-sized business owner. I've been a self-employed, employee, unemployed. I've been all of those things. And I can tell you, this business is the thing that really I love about it is the relationship between the business, quote unquote, owner and quote unquote employee, because really that relationship doesn't exist. People work together, and the guy that works the hardest gets the greatest benefit. It's one of the reasons I love this industry. It was one of the things about corporate America that I wanted to change, but I could never figure out how to change it in that model. This model, I believe, fits more with what I consider a biblical perspective, the truth be told. And the reason I say that is because to grow in this business, you have to grow people, just like Mr. Thomas is doing with this team. And as people grow and become better, your team tends to grow, and you benefit. Everybody benefits from it at the same time. Can you have selfishness in this model? Absolutely, you can have it. But selfishness will not last in this business. You won't be able to build a sustainable business and team with selfishness in this. Selflessness, which is difficult, and it's hard to think that way, is the only path in this business. It is the most accelerated path, let me say it, not the only path, but it is the path to sustainability in this industry. And which takes me back. When I study scripture, one of the most fascinating passages was always when I studied 12 disciples. You begin to realize you are studying the greatest leader that has ever walked on this planet. And if you ever want to study a leader, I would suggest you dig in. I'm only going to bring out a few points, but there are many, many points of leadership that you'll discover as you begin to study Christ. And how he built teams. Most if you study the many of the Gospels, you'll find that often crowds were always following him to the point where he had to get away from them often, and go up into mountains and do and so just like any of us, we're always gonna be looking for large numbers of people. I remember this concept of sorting. I really don't particularly like the word, but I understand what it actually means. And it doesn't mean you're throwing people away. I don't like that connotation of it, but I understand the right person at the right time is the key. And you're always looking for the person that's looking for you. I always notice that we always try to sort people in, and I'm gonna talk about me. I'm gonna talk about all of my mistakes. I remember it's naively. I did it naively. I was gonna change the world. I'm always changing the world. So everything I do, I'm always changing the world. And so, man, when I got introduced to network marketing and really understood that the opportunity was to really help a lot of people win, I was like, this is it. I found it. And now I finally found the way that I'm going to do this, and I'm going to change the world. And I was turned on by this business model because I'd seen all the other ones, and none of them had panned out to be what I was looking for. And then I began to find the challenges that network marketing had, and I began to evaluate all the mistakes that I made. And whenever I'm trying to figure out how to do something the right way, what I normally do is go to my Bible and I look at I just study the greatest leader that's ever lived and how he would do it. And first of all, think about it. 12 leaders is what he focused on. And when he lost one, he replaced him with another. So 12 was an interesting number. And so I began to look, how many leaders do I need? And even ACN will say 12, knowing it's a 50-50 flake ratio, and so you end up with the 6 necessary to become a senior vice president. Am I right? So the number is consistent. Am I right? So based on those numbers, I begin to look for 12 leaders, and I'm still looking for 12 leaders. But one of the things that I stopped doing was I stopped sorting people in and I started sorting people out. Now, another area that I struggle with sorting people. Because why? Because I'm trying to figure out then if I start sorting people out, does that mean I don't put people in, or does that mean I put them in? And then I start feeling pretty bad about putting people in and knowing that, I'm taking their money, and if they don't do anything, I'm going to get a bad name. And it took me a while to figure all this out. I remember I've watched this scene in several different versions. The rich man comes to Christ and he says, "Hey man, I want in with those guys. Those guys are what those guys are doing. I want in." An opportunist. People always see. T.D. Jakes says they always see the glory, but nobody ever sees the story. And so the rich man is rich. He's got all these resources, and he says, "I want in with these fishermen and I want in." So these guys they're moving. I want to move with them. He says, "You want to move with them?" "Yep, that's what I want to do." "So you ready to make that move?" "Oh, I'm ready to do whatever because I want in." He said, "Okay, sell everything you got and come on and join us poor." In every scene, in almost every movie that I've seen this scene in, the camera begins to pan out and Jesus keeps it moving. And the rich man stands there and he don't make a move at all. He fades into the. Why? because many people are going to tell you that they are in and they want to go all the way with you, and we're going to take you, and you have to, what is that state? There's a statement that says you have to discipline your disappointments, and I forget the other piece of it, but you do. You have to, you can't take a vested interest in their success until they commit and they say to you that I'm going to open the door for you to do whatever it takes to help me be successful. Without that, I'm not taking a vested interest in your success. And you would say, well, why? Well, that's pretty cold. It's not. I can't take more interest in their success than they do. And the only way I'm going to know that they are interested in their success is what they put on the line. See, do I think Christ really wanted that man to give up all his riches? I can't tell you. I can't tell you that he did or didn't. But I tell you this much: it taught me that the more people have on the line, the greater chances they're going to win. So I think what happens is when we're building teams, we try to make things accommodating to people. We make them easy. I disagree with that. I think we should make one hurdle after another hurdle. Why? The only way I told you the story in the beginning. For me, my boss was wanting to ensure my success, and he knew keeping him comfortable will leave him where he's at. To take him to a new place, I have to disrupt his world. And so the only way we're going to move people is to disrupt their world, is to say, I need you to go get $4.99. Oh, I don't have $4.99. Oh, so you thought change was free. So change is not free. If we keep doing the same thing that we're doing right now, we will continue to get the same result. It is the definition of insanity. The only way you're going to change your situation, you're going to have to invest something that you have not thus far invested in you. Well, okay, I can do the $4.99. Oh, it doesn't end with $4.99. I'm going to need another $4.99 for you to go to the international. I'm gonna also need you. Oh, another $4.99. It's $1,000, man. I can't afford that. Oh, you thought change was free. Once again, so, and I will always say, so you really weren't serious about the changes. Don't you remember my conversation with you? I warned you when we started that this was going to be uncomfortable. I warned you when it started that this was going to be disruptive. I warned you when I started that I was going to be your coach and not your friend. And these are the things you told me. Now, let me ask you a question. If you don't spend this, what is your plan to achieve the things that you said you wanted to achieve? It's a rhetorical question. I'm not asking you for an answer. And I'm not talking to you guys. I'm talking to them. I'm not asking you for an answer. I already know the answer. You don't have a plan. If you had a plan, you would have executed it last year. If you had a plan, you would have executed 2 years ago. So if we don't do what we're doing, what I'm telling you to do right now, a year from now, we'll be still having the same conversation. I promise you. And you have to be willing to have that conversation, or you will not help them. You won't. You will leave that person right where they are. And if my boss hadn't did what he did to me, I'd still be the kid in the hood that I was back in that day. So that young man, I go to visit him every few years. I take him out and I do whatever he needs me to do. Why? I will never forget the sacrifice he made, because he took a risk in disciplining me. So perfect example of what I'm talking about. Let's say you have a kid that's your kid. You love that kid. If you truly love that kid, you will do whatever it takes to get that kid to progress in his life. Sometimes that requires discipline, discomfort for that kid. If you're not willing to do that, let's be honest with ourselves. You don't love that kid. You love the comfort that it creates by not having to disrupt his environment loves you. To love the kid means I'm willing to do whatever it takes to disrupt this kid's world so this kid becomes a kid that reaches his potential. Now, that's love, but that love is really tough. So if you're serious about building the team and building the people, these are the conversations you have to be prepared to have. That's why Jesus told the rich man, hey, look, man, sell everything you got. You're coming at me telling me you're finna change the world. We're finna see if you're gonna change the world. And so how many of us take our business this serious? Oh, I know. Mr. Thomas, I already know. Now, that's a good point. I'm going to tell you, that was a great point. I'm going to make another point here. Now, everybody didn't raise their hands. And let me tell you why. Most of us say, well, Mr. Thomas can do that because it's not true. It is not true. This conversation with a person has nothing to do with your credibility, your pen level, or your position, or the amount of money you make. It has nothing to do with that. It is your care and concern for the success of that person. That's the key. Do I care about them? And if I care about them, then I'll tell them the truth. See, if I love my son, I'm not going to lie to him. If he's wrong, I need to let him know he's wrong. Because if I don't let him know he's wrong, it's going to compound over him over time. He will continue to make the same mistake over. And each time he makes it, it compounds. It gets worse. So if I really care about him, I'm going to confront that issue because I love him. And that's the situation. So I'm not telling you this because I'm perfect. Oh, if that person says to you, well, how you going to tell me this? You ain't perfect. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, look, let's go back to our original conversation. What is our relationship going to be? If you already know what to do, you don't need me anymore, then all you got to do is tell me that and I won't bother you anymore. But if you need my help, if you see me as being able to provide value to you, I need you to tell me that again. I need you to think about that. I'll tell people in a second. I said, don't answer me right now. Think about it overnight, get back to me in the morning. Why am I doing that? Because I want this person to make a conscious decision that they want my time. Why? Because I don't have time to waste. So we have to think like that. And the only way a person thinks like that is when you value your time. When you see yourself a certain way. When you see yourself as valuable. Let me ask you a question. How many of you are vice presidents right now? Most will say I'm not because I don't have the pen. Pen has nothing to do with it. Truth be told, the only thing, if you're not a VP, the only thing that you could possibly be lacking right now at VP is knowledge. Most people say, well, I thought you were talking about faith. Well, faith comes as a product of knowledge of God's word, but faith is a product of knowledge. I believe more and more through the decisions I make based on the information that I have and the experiences that they produce. That builds my faith. So, I would say to you, it's not about Mr. Thomas being in the business. You're the same person. You just, you just have a factor of time that is in the making. You just have to wait the time. If the mindset has come to that, then you're already there. Now you just have to work it out over time to get there. Now, many people quit, don't finish. That's why anybody that knows me knows that's a phrase I use all the time. I never worry about, forgive me. Oh, I shouldn't even say this. Mr. Thomas, don't beat me up too bad, okay? I never worry too much about speed. Don't get me wrong, speed is important because cadence, momentum is really a product of speed. Don't knock it. But more so important than speed is you finishing, commitment. Now, let me, and not only commitment, but persistence as well. So you commit, but you also have to persist. So let me explain what I mean by that. Is the number one way to guarantee failure, guarantee, is to quit. Other than that, everything else is uphill. I guarantee you. But you can pretty much guarantee. If you want to guarantee failure, all you got to do is quit. Quit is a guaranteed failure. That's a guaranteed done. And quit doing what? Quit growing and learning. Because taking action is a product of knowledge, again. So the thing that I believe that produces action is knowledge. So that's why we are destroyed, because we lack knowledge. And so knowledge is the key, because information produces thoughts. So knowledge produces thoughts, thoughts produce actions, actions produce outcomes. And so change my outcomes, I change my information. So it's really that simple. So aggressive, and I say aggressive conversations, but this is really simple. When I focus all my efforts on their success, then they have to take a vested interest as well. I hold them accountable to that vested interest. I'm not pressuring you to do this. You can quit at any time, okay? Because this is your success. I'm just going to make you accountable. Here's what I don't do. I don't let people get away with, I didn't know. My family will tell you, I am big. You're not going to ever tell me you didn't know. You're going to make a deliberate decision. So I'm going to remind you of our conversation. So I'm very deliberate with our first few conversations. I need to know that this is what you want to do, and this is what. And I'll even tell them, say, this is all leaders. Am I right? This is all leaders. I'll even tell them, you got 10 days to get out. You got 10 days to get out, and make a decision. I'm not trying to coerce you to get in. Matter of fact, I would rather you make a decision and not get in or get out. Why? Because my whole system is about working and pouring into you for your success. But if you're going to work counter to me, then we're both wasting time. That is an incredibly unproductive transaction. So this is how, and so I learned this over time, listening to SVPs, watching Mr. Thomas. You guys ever see Mr. Thomas babysitting anybody? Never. You will never see that. What does he do? He waits for you to engage. Now, I'm gonna tell you about leaders. They want to engage. They're tempted to engage, but they understand that if I engage, then I'm making it too easy for that person. The way that a person tells you that they want it is when they engage. So we can't want it better than they want it. We can't want it too bad for them. Why? Because I'm not going to say that. I can have faith for another person's healing. I can believe for their healing, and I can pray and make available, but they're going to have to believe for their own healing. Nobody can believe for my healing but me. The same here. I can't make you successful. What I can do is I can participate in a system that contributes to your success, but I can't make you successful. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm very deliberate about you committing, because the moment you don't, I'm gonna disconnect. Why? Because we're both wasting our time, and I'm not gonna do that. Now, and I said this earlier, the only way you're gonna do this is when you know that you are valuable and that your time has value on it. If you don't value yourself, you'll be chasing people, and you won't build a business. You won't. Check the NFL out. I watch it. I go. I don't know if you've ever been to one of these college combines. They make the family pay for hotels, meals, travel. They do all of that for the chance And I mean a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a chance of even getting accepted or getting considered. And people do everything they get. Why? Exclusivity. The value of a thing is determined by what it's cost. If I pulled up in a Chevy and a Mercedes, which one would you pick? Some people may say Chevy. Yeah, some people are gonna be indifferent, but most will pick a Mercedes. Why? Because there's this perceived value that a Mercedes, but it's made out of fiberglass, metal, rubber tires. It's got the same leather seats. It's got all of these things got the same. So I can't understand, why would I pay another 30 grand for one versus the other? Because value is perceived by what something costs. Value is not real. Value is a perception based on cost. The more something costs, we perceive it has more value. Think about it. I was a kid in high school under peer pressure, my mother would go buy a shirt with a guy on a horse and think she had done me a favor. Worst thing she could have ever done. Worst thing, if it ain't a polo, Ma, don't put nothing on it. Please do that for me. So can you imagine what that looks like? You walking into your high school campus with a guy on a horse and it ain't a polo? That's rough right there. So because what? Value is perceived by cost. My shirt had a guy on a horse just like their shirt had a guy on a horse. The difference is my shirt was $5 or $10. Their shirt was $50 or $75. Same material, same colors, same kind of, same thread that makes the logos and all of that. But a difference, so why was that guy able to charge so much more? Cost. You give them your time cheap, that's what it's worth. Remember that. Make them pay for your time. Because it's worth it. That's why I asked you, who are you? Are you a VP now? In the making? Absolutely. You have to think that way. You got to come out the gate, making them pay for your time. It's for them. It's not saying that I'm better than you, or I had a lot of poison in me as a 19-year-old. And if he would allow me to handle him loosely, I would have never achieved anything. But because he forced me to get there at 6 o'clock the next morning with an insurmountable task, it forced me to value him. So when he spoke and whatever he did, I handled him a certain way. And so they will do the things that you say. Now, let's go back. I got to go to the international? Absolutely. No question. You don't go, you won't get any more of my time. You think that's ugly. It's not. You can't help them otherwise. You keep them comfortable, you leave them where they are. I'm telling you, you will not help them. Christ forced everybody to make a choice. Every disciple had to make a choice. Every single one had to sacrifice something. One of my favorite characters in the Bible is David. He says, I won't take anything from God that doesn't cost me something. I won't take it for free. I won't ever accept it for free. So what is the definition of a leader? A leader is a person that will lead. They will take action independent of instruction. Does that make sense? You don't have to tell them everything to do. Leaders take action. The best leaders are the ones, my upline never talks to me. Doesn't have to. I'm creating, thinking, working. Why? Because I'm a leader. I don't need nobody to tell me what to do. I just need now I will give him this much. He made sure I understood the business. And he timed it right, like Mr. Thomas is doing. He didn't give me too much information to where it would paralyze me, but he knew when I was ready for different pieces of information. And as I became ready, I got the information that was necessary for me to grow my business. Then at some point, I basically told him, nah, I got this now. I don't need your help anymore. I got it from here. And that's what you want. And so Mr. Thomas has leaders who who still respect him, honor him, but they're building an enterprise now. And there's an independence. They think they're now at the top of their organization. And so now, is he on their board? Yeah, he's on their board, but they're CEO now of their organization. All right. So that's where that's where we're headed. That's where we're all headed. One last, and then I'll be, what time is it? I need to go. I don't need to hold you much longer. The last thing I'll tell you is when you build, I'm being careful how I say this. The people as you look for leaders, you're at some point going to want to have individuals just like the leaders that Mr. Thomas has in his organization. You're looking for them. You can't allow, let me ask you a different question. Here's let me ask you, and you don't need to answer. I just want you to think. We talk about, and particularly Julian Lewis talked about sorting. Real quick, when I think of sorting, I get this image in my head of people in a stream in California, in the West, when the Great Migration, and they're taking these pans and they're scooping these pans and they're shaking them, looking for gold. But in a day, I'm a systems guy. I think I'm gonna get a tub sorter that I attach to the back of a semi truck, and I'm gonna dig up an acre of land and I'm gonna sort with that. I would imagine I could find gold pieces faster that way, am I right? Because if I'm sorting more sand, I would imagine more gold. I'm gonna get to gold faster. It's kind of my thought, right? So we're still talking about recruiting. I talked to you about how crowds would follow Christ, but he would always find ways of identifying gold very quickly. How do we sort really, really fast? I will tell you, they say if you're not growing, you're dying. But in technology, they say that growth, the translation of growth in technology is if you're not innovating, you're dying. So Microsoft will say, if we're not innovating every single day, we're dying. Apple, if we're not constantly on looking if we're not obsoleting products that we already have right now, then we're dying. If our R&D department isn't wiping out the things that are making us money right now, we're behind. We have to be thinking in similar ways. How do I access more people? Let's look around my world, the world that I live in, and let's look at how the world has changed. I used to get a realtor to help me sell my house. There are 100 different options now for selling houses with realtors. qualifying realtors, online ways, that kind of thing. There are all these different ways of doing things that people are beginning to take advantage of. Uber, do I still need a car when I live in the inner city, or can I just do sharing? How about when I travel? Do I still need to pay for a room at a premium, or can I just rent a room in a house somewhere and get and reduce my cost? It's all of these new ways of thinking, tools, social media for me. Let's think about how communication has changed. Now, I don't know if many of you even know. I don't know if many of you have ever seen a phone that had a cord plugged into the wall. I remember that. Better yet, I know something that you don't know. How many of you now? I didn't have it in my home, but at my parents' home. How many of you have picked up a phone and gone to a switchboard where somebody had to switch you to a line? Bet you're not familiar with that. I have. Now, I was a kid, I was near a baby, but I am familiar with it. Well, think about it today. This thing right here has changed the world. It has literally changed the world. It's made stock trading. It's commoditized the broker. It's commoditized the realtor. It's commoditized the food industry. It's all of these things have been commoditized because of this device. Let me ask you guys this question: how many of you are innovating? And I'm not asking for numbers, but I want you to think about it. How many of you, if I told you that that 10 people a day is nothing, would agree? Now, be very careful before you answer this question, because I have another question that I'm gonna follow up. So you may want to hold back on this. How many of you, if I said 100 people, would agree? Be very careful with answering this question. How many of you, if I said 1,000 people a day, would agree? It's not a big deal. So I'm gonna ask you a different question. How many of you are doing 10 people a day? How many of you are doing 100 a day? How many of you are doing 1,000 a day? Now, let me ask, this is a real quick question. We say it's a numbers game. If that's a true statement, why would I go out to the stream with a handheld strainer? When I got a tub, I got a deal I can sort with in the backyard that can do an acre at a time. Why would I do that? Think about that now. I put it on the back of my truck. It'll dig into the ground, into the stream. It'll pull up, it'll sort it, and it knows how to pull up gold pieces like nothing. Think about this. Many of you grew up with social media, right? There are any number of tools on social media. All we have to do is master the tools that we work with. If I'm going to use that tub sorter, I'm going to have to know how to use it, how to dig in, how to bring it back up, how to use it to sort and work all the controls. I'm going to have to learn how to use the tools and the techniques. Guys, I'm telling you, I say this all the time. You live in the most opportune time this planet has ever seen. I'm telling you, and the things that I'm telling you about, there are kids out here that are mastering these tools. And these are the tools that you use just for basic communication every day. Facebook, Instagram, these things exist. And there are hundreds of them. And they're building relationships, you're touching people. All you're doing is, instead of grabbing a sifter, a handheld sifter, you're just grabbing a tub sifter and attaching it to the back of your semi-truck. Why? Because I'm looking for that person that's looking for me. The Bible says Christ went into cities and he did miracles. Why did he do miracles? To attract people. He knew people would be attracted to him. And when they'd be attracted, he'd find his leaders. And his leaders would always emerge. Same is true for you. You are vice presidents. That's why you're on this call with the vice president. I always tell people this all the time. There are 80 people on this call right now, 79 of which of us are on the call with an SVP. That's a privilege because there are 300 million plus people in America, and the rest of them are not on this call. And the fact that we're on this call, the reason I'm in this place is because there's a purpose and connected to this individual. And because of that, I need to discover why I'm here and capitalize on it. Not take it for granted, not become casual with it, but I need to be disrupting. Mr. Thomas, push me. Mr. Thomas, beat me up. Mr. Thomas, what do I need to do? Mr. Thomas, you've been watching me. You've been looking at me. Where do I need to improve? Mr. Thomas, why are you putting these people in front of us? What was I supposed to get from that guy? But these are the kinds of things that why? That's what a person that's thirsty or hungry looks like. He wants it bad. He's chasing it. I think you guys, like I said, most opportune time, right place. Mr. Thomas. Great leadership. Success hangs off leadership. My suggestion is dig into your companies, get better, attract more. It is a numbers game. I don't invest until they invest. I want to invest in my team. I want to ask people. It's difficult for me. The truth for me is I have to discipline myself not to invest in everybody. And it's painful when I don't, but the truth be told, you have to. If you don't focus on the ones who deserve it, instead the ones who need it, the ones who are willing to do what it takes to do it get neglected. And so we have to avoid the temptation of just helping the one who needs it. We have to focus on the one who's done what it took to deserve it. And so with that, I'm going to call it a day. I think I've gone over my time. Forgive me, please. Please forgive me.
Oh, no, sir, not at all. No, sir, at all. Listen, Mr. Dwight Williams, you're amazing. I have an award for expanding our wisdom. Listen, it's the award for expanding our wisdom and truisms. I'll say it again. An award for expanding. Now, people already had it, but expanding their wisdom and truism. Truisms means not only did he speak the truth, but some solid backing behind the truths of the truisms that he gave everybody, including me today. I've got page after page after 5 pages of notes here, expanding our wisdom and truism as a champion. See, it takes one to know one. And to say this to you, my friend, you just expanded our wisdom and truism to what we can do as individuals if we only get out of our own way. I love the part that he said, he talked about his mistakes. See, when I try to correct and help people with their mistakes, they go into resentment or revenge or resistance. But I appreciate your openness and your honesty about all of it, because you said it 4 times. He talked about all his mistakes. So many leaders are scared to talk about their mistakes. We all make mistakes, folks. Nobody's perfect. But build on your mistakes to be a stronger leader so you can lead others. That was very powerful. And don't forget all the noise out there, all the noise. And he said also, first thing he said, you got to embrace change. Look, this is new. Zoom is new to me, but guess what? I've embraced it. Oh, I got it now. But you got to embrace it and be willing to change with the times. There's 4 or 5 of you out there. I'm not going to say nobody's name. I'm not here to expose it, but I wish I could help you, but you just won't listen. Here again, I hope after the day somebody else say it, you listen if I try to help you. But anyway, thank you so much. Can we show Mr. Dwight Williams some love? Let's show him some love. My God, that was powerful. Sir, I'm going to give you a call in a few minutes, but I want to thank everybody out there. Before he leaves, once again, thank you for expanding our wisdom and truisms. That was so amazing. So I want to thank you, sir. We will have you back next month. I will give you a call. We're going to get those dates down. And I appreciate you so much. And by the way, I like that shirt.
Thank you,
Before
sir.
he leaves, everybody, let's take a few minutes. Let's take another 20 seconds and just show them. Let's show them how much he meant to us today.